Shalom, my friends, from here in Caesarea, or as we say in Hebrew, Caesarea. This is an amazingly beautiful and also historic city that I want to tell you about and show you. This is a city that blends both the modern beauty of Israel with the history. And as I always say, in Israel, when you walk around, you don't only study the words of the Bible, you live it. So actually, Caesarea is not it's not one of the biblical cities like Jerusalem or Hebron or Tzfat or Tiberias. There are a lot of different biblical cities. And as we'll discover and learn and speak about today, Caesarea, or Caesarea as we say, is actually a city that was not very good for the Jews. It wasn't something that brought out the beauty of faith and religion and spread God's goodness and oneness to the people of Israel. Caesarea was actually a very difficult place for the Jewish people and a source of lots of hardships. But what's amazing today is that this is the reality. Behind me you could see that we still have, these are ancient waterways from hundreds and hundreds of years ago. This is how they brought the water for miles from all different cities to Caesarea, and from Caesarea to all different cities in order to bring water to the people living here. So this is amazing. This is, come for a walk with me. For any of you who have been to Israel before, you've probably been to Caesarea because it's something that so strongly shows you the modern and the historic. That here on the beach, a beach that people come to enjoy in the summer, these beaches are packed with people going in the water and swimming and doing different water sports. It's a very fancy, actually expensive city in modern Israel today that I think even Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu has a house here, and lots of other different wealthy businessmen and women and different diplomats. Caesarea is one of the most fancy, nice places in Israel, and it's also used as a big tourist spot that people come to. And what's amazing is that it's a beautiful modern beach, and also you have all of these ancient stones, the ancient waterway, ancient paths. Actually, just this summer I was in the water, in the beautiful water of the Mediterranean Sea here in Caesarea with my children, and we always collect beautiful rocks. So in a minute we'll go down to the beach and I'll show you all the beautiful shells and rocks. And I found a piece of stone, of marble, which is amazing because that piece of marble is probably hundreds, if not thousands of years old. Basically, Caesarea is located between Tel Aviv, which is center Israel, and Haifa, which is northern Israel. So I'd say we're in the north part of central Israel. Caesarea is a historic town that is a port town. Throughout history, it's been very important in bringing goods in and out of Israel. Now, Caesarea isn't really, as I said, it wasn't the center of Jewish life or anything like that. It was mostly run by Christians and by Muslims. That one always was conquering the other. When it was a Christian town, eventually, a lot of times it was destroyed by earthquakes, actually, because Israel's on a fault line. So they built a big, bustling, modern city of trade based on the water. It was a port city, as I said, and it was so much happening. This was, many people say, the center of trade for Israel. And people coming in and out of Israel came through Caesarea. And when it was under the Christian rule, Muslims would come in, destroy it, and then Muslims would set up their city here. And they, again, would set up a whole new system based around the port and the industry of selling and bringing and passing overseas different things from Israel, for example, like marble. And it went between Muslim and Christian hands throughout history for the past few hundred years, until now we have a modern Jewish city of Caesarea. Actually, Christian tradition holds that this is Caesarea is the home of many of the original Christians, and tradition also holds that this is the city where the first idol worshiper was converted to Christianity. If you remember, the world, especially the Middle East, was all idol worshipers, but before Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, as we know today, became the excuse me, the main religions of the world. And so Christianity came and tried to convert the world from idol worshippers to Christianity. And this is where one of those first people, this is where it happened in Caesarea. Now, in Judaism, this is very significant because what the Romans tried to do, this was the center of Roman life for many years. And what the Romans tried to do, as we know, was to take away faith and worship and godliness from the people of Israel, to destroy spiritually the people of Israel. And so this is a place where they outlawed any studying Torah, any religion, and they found Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva, tradition holds in Judaism that if it weren't for him, the whole Torah might have been forgotten. All of the traditions that we have today, all of the Torah that we know today, how to keep the Sabbath, all of the different things that I've been teaching you about and we've been studying and practicing together, that would have been lost if it wasn't for Rabbi Akiva. And when the Romans outlawed Judaism or faith or worship or studying the Torah, Rabbi Akiva said, I will not give in to the Romans. I am going to continue, and this is the way that it will be passed on tradition to the future generations. I cannot let it be lost. And so the Romans brought Rabbi Akiva to Caesarea here. And they actually, in front of everyone, said, convert or we will kill you. And he said, well, then kill me. And they brought him to the amphitheater that they created. And in front of all the people, Jews, everyone that was there in the Colosseum, they killed him in a horrible way that he suffered. And he refused to give up his faith. And so this is really the center of also the struggle in Israel that's always been, and for the Jewish people especially, between those outside forces, the Romans, the Greeks. Next week we'll speak about Hanukkah, that want to destroy not necessarily the physical body of the Jewish people, but the spirit of the Jewish people, to outlaw faith, to outlaw studying, to outlaw all the different laws that keep the Jewish people alive, to outlaw that in order to destroy their soul. This here in Caesarea is the historic struggle of that, of assimilation, you might say, versus spirituality and keeping our faith. And so that's a little bit of the history. This was the center of the Romans, of the Greeks that came and set up of their whole community here, and they set up what we know today as Greek culture, gladiators and sports and competition, and that was in order to take the place of religion that was throughout Israel. Maybe some people might say to counter the temple service. The temple service was spiritual, was based on God, was based not on our physical bodies, but spirituality and connecting to our spirit, our soul. And in contrast to that, what the Romans set up here in Caesarea and Caesarea was trying to combat that, to be the opposite of that, to focus on physicality, on looks, on strength, on who's the strongest, who's the fastest, who's the best gladiator, and instead of focusing on the spirit, to focus on the body. So that is a little bit of the history of Caesarea, and today, within that history, we are free and to worship, to pray, to study here in Caesarea. Jews, Christians, Muslims. Actually, it was up until a little bit before 1948. There were a few. I think they're around 1920. The consensus showed that there were around 600 Muslims that lived in Caesarea, a couple hundred Jews, and a couple hundred Christians. And today there are thousands of people in Caesarea, and it's still open to Jews, Christians, Muslims to come free and worship, which I think is God's real joy. Not to force people to be religious, not to force people to not be religious, but to give people the freedom and to hope that we inspire them enough that they'll want to connect to God. So come with me and I'll show you a little bit of modern Caesarea, where we could enjoy the beauty of this place. You see that it's a beach. In many ways it looks like any other modern beach. There are lots of different sports that are done here in Caesarea. They have sailing, they have water skiing. In the summer when you come, it's already the winter now, so in the summer when you come, you'll see this place packed. There's people doing barbecues and children running around everywhere and people swimming and enjoying and sunbathing. People even, I've been here in the summer, when people have even set up like tents on the beach. And they just decide to move out onto the beach for the entire summer to enjoy the beauty of the land of Israel. So here you see these ancient stones. You want to maybe show a little bit of the view, maybe down even. These beautiful ancient stones that were, for a long time ago, hundreds of years ago, a waterway to bring water to Caesarea. You could see they're huge. The water went on top of them and it goes down for miles. Here we'll come walk through this ancient waterway to give you a view of paradise. This is the Mediterranean Sea. Israel is beautiful, Israel is spiritual, but Israel is also one of the most beautiful modern countries in the world. So come with me, we'll look at some of the stones, we'll look at the beach, and we hope that you're enjoying this from right now in Israel and Caesarea, as we say in Hebrew, in Caesarea. If you look down here, you can see this beautiful view, again, where modern meets historic, and all of this ancient waterways, stones that are hundreds of years old, that are still standing as the backdrop to our modern, beautiful beach. And I invite you to come to Israel. See here all these beautiful shells on the ground. Whenever I see these, I always think about how every single one of these has a story. Who of our forefathers, of those who came before us, saw these very same shells, picked them up, collected them? They're beautiful, all different colors. There's actually, in Israel, we have beautiful, also we have the Red Sea in Eilat, we have the Dead Sea down south, and now we have the Mediterranean Sea as well, and of course we have the Sea of Galilee and Tiberias. What's amazing to note also is that Israel hardly has any natural resources besides the sun. And so when the Jewish people first came to Israel, we didn't have a way to get water. Our only fresh water source is from the Sea of Galilee. And it's not enough to sustain all of the people of Israel as the population has grown and as there have been years of drought, that the Sea of Galilee has gone down to emergency levels, that we couldn't use the water hardly. So Israel started desalination plants where we actually take the ocean water and clean it in order to use as clean drinking water. And now we're exporting this technology to California where there's a drought and all over the world of how to use ocean water and turn it into drinking water. So this is, when I look at this view, I just think, Ma Rabu Masecha Hashem, how wondrous are your creations, God. I feel so lucky and blessed to be in Israel. And this is a place that so many of the fellowship's new immigrants come to when they arrive in Israel. They look out at this sea, they look at their ancient waterways, they look at the people and beauty of Israel, and they thank God for bringing them home. And so just this past week, the fellowship has had flights that have arrived home in Israel. We have flights from Ukraine, Jewish refugees who have survived the war, from France, Jews who are scared of terrorism, from places like Turkey, Morocco, throughout the world, from Venezuela. This is the Jewish people's land, and the fellowship, with the help of Christians and Jews across the world, are helping Jewish people come home to this land, to our ancient biblical land on wings of eagles. So I'll post a link here if you want to be part of that, if you want to adopt a new immigrant, to bring them home, give them a new reality, and let them walk in the footsteps that I'm walking, the footsteps of our history, of our Bible, of our forefathers. You could be part of that also. I hope you enjoyed this tour of Caesarea, of Caesarea. If you did, share it with others, share it with your friends, and God bless you from here in the beautiful Holy Land.